Hello, and welcome to Virtual Investor Conferences. My name is John Viglotti, and on behalf of OTC Markets, as well as our co-host, Zach Small Cap Research, we're very pleased you joined us for our next presentation from Orexo. Their session will be moderated by Brad Sorensen. He's the senior equity research analyst with Zach Small Cap Research. And please note you can submit questions for Orexo in the box to the left of the slides. At this point, I'm very pleased to welcome Nikolai Sorensen. He's the president and chief executive officer of Orexo AB, which trades on the OTCQX Best Market under the symbol ORXOY and on the STO under the symbol ORX. Welcome back, Nikolai and Brad.
Thank you very much, and thank you for inviting us. So I'm very pleased to be able here to present Orexo, and it's a very exciting company at a kind of a transformative time in the evolution of the company. Orexo is a Swedish pharmaceutical company, but the majority of our operations is in the US. So in that way, you can say we are kind of Swedish-American pharmaceutical company. So I'll just jump ahead here and give you a short introduction to Orexo. So we're a company that's been founded back in the 90s, so we have more than 25 years in the pharmaceutical industry. We've been focusing on drug delivery technologies, formulation technologies, and that had led to the launch of 4 different products from the company. The big focus for the company the last 10 years during my tenure as CEO has been on opioid use disorder and adjacent diseases. So most of our commercial revenues today is for treatment of opioid use disorder, in particular a product called Zubsolv, and I'll come back to that later. What is interesting with Orexo is that we have this commercial platform, sales in the US, generating a decent amount of profits that we're now investing into our R&D pipeline. And here we're really at a crossroad at the moment with our technology called AmorphOX. We have the first product based on this technology under FDA review at the moment for rescue medication for opioid overdose. But we also have a broad portfolio of other opportunities based on the same technology. We are a company today with revenues from Zubsolv, about $60 million. We have positive EBITDA, improving also during the last year, and we have a decent liquidity in the company. So Orexo, all in all, is a company with a pretty strong foundation from our opioid use disorder treatment Zubsolv, but with a lot of upsides from our pipeline, and I'll come back to the pipeline projects shortly. So an overview of what are the products we have today. So the main products we have is Zubsolv. Zubsolv is promoted by Orexo in the US, but strangely enough, as a Swedish company, we have then decided to go with a partner in Europe. And in Europe, we are working with the pharmaceutical company called Accord Pharmaceutical, which is primarily a European and Asian company. We also have Abstral. Abstral is a breakthrough cancer pain treatment, which is promoted by a Japanese company, Kyowa Kirin. It's not promoted actively in the US anymore, so the majority of the revenues we receive is from some European markets and Asia. And then we have Edluar, which is today promoted globally by Atris. It's an insomnia product that is generating some quite nice royalties to Orexo, but where we're not involved in the promotion of that product. The same goes for Abstral. It's also a royalties-based deal. And during the last 5 years, we have invested into digital health together with a German partner called Gaia. So we have worked with some complementary digital health programs that, for example, within opioid use disorder could complement Zubsolv. That's not generating a lot of revenues right now, but it is something we're working on to create a bundle of treatment opportunities for patients with opioid use disorder. Looking into the pipeline, our main product right now is OX124. It's a rescue medication for opioid overdose. It's a high-dose rescue medication. It is something that we've seen is acting faster than the market-leading alternatives in the market today. And where we see the death from fentanyl is what we're targeting with OX124. We know today that if you're overdosing with fentanyl, there's a big chance that the existing overdose treatments are not sufficient. OX125 is a nalmefene-based product. We put that a little on hold because we believe there's a more potential in the naloxone treatment. But should we decide to proceed with the nalmefene product, we could do that within a relatively short time frame, make it ready for filing with the FDA. We have positive clinical data behind both OX124 and OX125. Where we see a lot of opportunity for the companies in ORX640. That's an adrenaline or an epinephrine-based product, so anaphylactic reactions or allergic reactions. Today, the market leader is EpiPen, so that's an injection product. There are other products in development with a nasal profile. What we're looking at here is to provide a nasal powder, and that comes with a lot of advantages for the patients and caregivers. Outside that, we have several other projects based on the same technology, both internal projects, but also in collaborations with other companies. For example, we're working with a Swedish company, Sobi, Swedish orphan Biovitrum, which have a biomolecule where we see that we can basically, by putting it into AmorphOX, we see that we could add stability, we can add bioavailability, we can add new drug delivery technologies, and we can add patent times, because the AmorphOX technology, depending on the molecule we put into the technology platform, we have patents until 2039 to 2044. Finally, we have a product for endometriosis treatment. We call it ORX MPI, which is under development in partnership with a Swedish biotech company, Gesunda. So looking at the big focus area for us, opioid use disorder. This is an unfortunate area that kind of goes in waves with the attention, but there has really not been a lot of progress in the number of people overdosing. There was a spike from 2020 into 2021, which is very much driven by the availability of fentanyl. And unfortunately, fentanyl is not, you won't be able to rescue people with a fentanyl overdose if you're using the existing products that are widely available now over the counter in the US. You often need to use more than one dose to reverse a person who have an overdose with fentanyl. So this is really what we're targeting with our new rescue medication. But on parallel, we have the maintenance treatment with Zubsolv, which is targeting these 8.9 million we know today is misusing opioids. That's defined by someone who has taken an opioid which has not been prescribed by the doctor. Out of the 8.9, we know more than 6 million are dependent on opioids. That means that you will have withdrawal symptoms if you stop, but only about a third of that is in some kind of current treatment. And we know one of the issues of that is availability of physicians and treatment options. And that's why we come in with our digital mental health program, which makes it easier for physicians to provide a complete treatment range, both pharmaceutical, but also psychosocial support. You can use that digital mental health program, MODIA, as a complement to the pharmaceutical treatment. And we've developed that to be able to have a more full package and to improve access to treatment for the patients. So Zubsolv is an important cash generator. The revenues in the US since launch is more than $500 million. The annual revenue is about $60 million. We have, like everyone else, been able to, just looking at Q1, we were able to have a price increase. It was a very peculiar development in the market we've seen the last year, where before Medicaid was really the main driver behind the growth in the market. But the last year we have seen Medicaid go down, and in parallel, actually, the number of people in commercial going up. I think that's something that's seen in other disease areas also. But for Orexo, that's quite important because we do have very broad reimbursement in the commercial sector. More than 98% of the patients who have a commercial or private health insurance have access to Zubsolv on similar terms as they have access to the generics in the market. In Medicaid, the same number is about 51%. So having growth in the private health insurance segment is important for us to generate growth in the market. We did see a decline in the fourth quarter. In demand is mainly due to the development in United Health Group and Humana, where we back in 2019, we had a market share with these two large insurance companies of more than 90%. But at that time, we saw the main competitor, Suboxone Film, lost its exclusivity. So there was a tsunami of generic alternatives coming into the market. And that made these two large insurance companies decide to make Orexo non-exclusive, but we've been quite resilient and we still keep a quite high market share within both United and Humana, but that has been declining year over year. And back in 2019, that was more than half of our revenues. So it has been a tough ride for a few years, but what we actually have seen the last year is more and more stabilization. And we also see that we've been able to outperform some of the segments, for example, in the Medicaid segment. longer term, just looking at the page before, we know that opioid dependence or opioid use disorder is an issue where a lot of patients are not receiving appropriate care. And there are a lot of stuff happening on a federal level to address this. There are new money coming in, for example, for these opioid settlement. There has been all of these opioid litigations the last few years, and that have resulted in settlements which is generating more than $50 billion in abatement funds, which are now been made available to the states and municipalities. And we believe a lot of these money will be channeled into improved treatment. And that's something that we believe we can capitalize on, both with Zubsolv, but also with our digital health program, Modia, and with our new rescue medication. What is interesting, Zubsolv for us is kind of the platform. That's where we're generating a lot of the profit and revenues into the company. But really where the big opportunity is in our, from an equity perspective, is in our new platform, ORX, which is we would say probably the best intranasal platform available today. We have superior stability. That means that you can have longer shelf life. You don't need cold chains, for example, in distribution, across every single molecule we have tested compared to the original formulation. We have in every clinical trial we have run with the AmorphOX platform seen superior bioavailability. So it's faster and it's more bioavailable than the often liquid alternatives that exist in the market. The main focus for us currently is on naloxone. It's under FDA review right now, nalmefene, and epinephrine. But as you can see on this map, there are multiple other opportunities, in particular within biologics, where we know there's a need for cold chains and need for new drug delivery technologies. And that's something we're working on, among others, with the Swedish company Sobi, but we also worked with a couple of vaccine companies to test their vaccines in the same platform. And I've seen exactly the same as we've seen on this picture, that even in high degrees, so 40 degrees Celsius, I guess that's up in the 90s in Fahrenheit, we have seen that we are more stable compared to a cold chain storage of the product. The first product we have is OX124. It's a product with quite unique properties. It's a powder-based nasal spray compared to the ones in the market today, which are all liquid. What comes with the powder is high bioavailability. We also have a higher dose than those who are over the counter today. There are other high dose of liquid alternatives in the market, but with the powder, we also come in with a shelf life, which is quite interesting because, for example, if it freezes and you have something that's liquid, the product will freeze. But here, based on the powder, we can actually have a wide variations of temperatures. It can be stored in freezing temperatures. It could also be stored in quite high temperatures, and it's not vulnerable to temperature changes. Then it is a quite small device. It's easy to carry. And as a company and from an equity perspective, we have patents up to 2039. So we have quite a long time on the market with exclusivity if we succeed to get approval by FDA later this year. Our expected approval is during the second half of the year, and that will enable a launch early next year. What is even more exciting, I think, is for epinephrine. Today, there is one product ahead of us called Neffy, which is also a liquid and nasal formulation of epinephrine. Ours is a powder. But what we see that we can add is we have higher bioavailability. We have tested in stability study where we have much better resistance and stability to different temperature ranges. Even in normal room temperature, we have superior stability compared to other products in the market. And in the graph in the center of the picture, you can see what happens when you take EpiPen in quite high temperatures compared to our product. So even with very high temperatures, after 9 months, there's been no degradations of the epinephrine in OX640. This is a project where we're looking for a partner, and we're currently in discussions with several global and regional companies who are interested in taking this to market together with Orexo. So where are we financially? This is our first quarter results. The first quarter this year was a little down in net revenues compared to last year. That was due to changes in inventory at some of the large wholesalers in the US. Because underlying demand, sales to pharmacies, we actually seen a very stable development compared to last year, and sales to pharmacies, we have actually seen an increase, explained both for the stable demand, but also due to the price increase we had earlier this year. But looking at gross profit, even though we have about more than $1 million less in sales for the US pharma, our gross profit, where most of it is coming from Zubsolv, is nearly constant. And that's because we're working quite actively as a company on reducing cost of goods. Even 10 years into the product, we can see there are ways for us to reduce the cost of goods in the product, improving gross profit. We're working on the operating expenses. And as you can see, we have had a dramatic decline in operating expenses compared to last year. We are guiding positive EBITDA for the year. And we're quite close also to reach a positive EBIT number. We were positive EBITDA in the quarter, and we expect to see improved EBITDA and sales in the quarters to come. In particular, as Q1 had this one-time headwind of a reduction in inventory sitting with the wholesalers. So they bought less from Orexo during the quarter, but that's something we have seen normalize more during Q2, and we expect it to continue to normalize over the year. From a financial perspective, I'll just say in Sweden, we have access to quite a good bond market for corporate bonds. So we issued a secured corporate bond of 500 million SEK, so it's close to $50 million under a social financing framework earlier this year. So the financing of the corporate bond is now secured for the next 4 years. And that put our liquid position and our liquid funds is more than sufficient to finance the operations we have in the company today. So just to summarize our strategic initiatives and where are we moving right now. So for Orexo, it's a lot about stabilizing our Zubsolv revenues, ensure that we can continue to optimize profit contributions from Zubsolv to enable the launch of OX124 and the development of the pipeline. So we basically have Zubsolv right now, but we are going to launch OX124, which will generate sales next year. We have hired an experienced team for OX124 who have been working in the disease space with one of the competitors previously, so that can give us a kickstart of the launch of OX124 in the US. What continues to be important, and I think it's more and more important in the pharmaceutical industry, is access, market access. That means reimbursement by both the public sector. When you're in opioid use disorder, that's incredibly important because Medicaid and Medicare accounts for the largest part of the market, but also to maintain very good access with the private health insurance, where we get paid better for the products than what we do in the public space. So right now, when we get approval, first thing we need to do is to secure we can get reimbursement for OX124. And that's one of the advantages we have compared to the over-the-counter alternatives that are in the US, that most of the insurance companies do not reimburse a product that is not prescribed. So if you get it over the counter, you have to pay cash. If you get it on prescription, there's an opportunity for you to get financed by your insurance companies. And then we're working on leveraging the full platform, both our maintenance treatment, Zubsolv, our overdose treatment, rescue medication, OX124, and our digital therapy, MODIA, under what we call an umbrella concept with MatCore, to see how we can provide a more comprehensive treatment option for the patients and also for the caregivers in the US. So improving access is really core for us. And of course, working with a very vulnerable patient population, we have multiple different support programs to ensure that the patients can access our products even without having the financial means to do this. But the commercial part is really important to capitalize on our R&D pipeline. So the AmorphOX technology, which is basically a powder which can be used for nasal development, but it can also be used for oral tablets. It can be used as a reconstitution agent. For example, biologics often need a cold chain, but by putting it into AmorphOX, you can actually store it in room temperature. And then when you need to inject it, you can then mix it with a liquid, and then it will be possible to inject it. And that will increase stability. It will reduce the need for cold chain. And it actually gives more opportunities for us to work a little on the convenience for the patients. I know from personal experience and in my closest family that some of the biologics often have a lot of injection site pain. And that's often based on the pH values of the product. And if you can work with the pH, you can actually reduce that. And that's something we can do with AmorphOX, but often it's difficult because you need to work with the pH to keep the product stable when it's in a liquid. We also have a lot of opportunities to out-license, both partnering around Amorphous, but our OX640, we are in due diligence process right now as we speak. Even today, there were several meetings with different companies on OX640, the epinephrine product. So we believe we are well set to find a partner to work with us to take that product to market. And then this entire platform enable us to broaden our commercial platform, both to develop new products for our organization in the US, within opioid use disorder and mental health, but also to work with partners who see a value in the technology for their API. So this is an overview basically of Orexo. It's all about a solid foundation from Zubsolv, our commercial products, and moving those money into developing new exciting products. And there we're really at a crossroad right now with several partnerships about to materialize. And with that, I will open up for Brett and for questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, great to be here. Lot to talk about. Exciting company. I've been researching it for a few days, and it's very interesting. The product line that you have. Just want to let investors know. Yeah, Nikolai and I happen to have the same last name. Obviously, we are not related. So just full disclosure there. I think we'll start with financials because this is an investor forum, and you had been, the previous couple of years have been rough financially. It looks like that you've been losing money, posting negative profits, and you are projecting that to shift going forward, moving into profitability. Could you flesh out a little more, I guess, what's the change? Are the investments changing? Are you bringing more things to revenue coming to fruition that are going to bring in revenue? Is it a combination? Just to let investors know specific cost cuts or programs that you've cut, just those kind of things.
Yeah. No, I think to get to that point, it's working on both sides, or both on the top line and also on the expense side. Where we are right now is due to expense side. But one of the things we've focused a lot on for the last few years on our investor talks, and I believe even last time I was joining the similar event as this one, is our ability showing that we have our fixed cost is way lower than our profit contribution from Zubsolv. And what we have called non-recurring expenses, which from a pure accounting perspective is not completely correct, but it is non-recurring. And that have been the investments in finalizing the development of OX124. So there's a lot of investments into the manufacturing process, which is done partly in North America, or most of it is in North America. It's also been investments into our other pipeline projects where we've done clinical trials on both OX125, the nalmefene product, and the epinephrine products. And we have had some legal expenses associated with a patent litigation on Zubsolv. We won that patent litigation last summer in the District Court of New Jersey, and we won on every single account. So we kind of put that a little aside right now. So that was a lot of expenses to run for a small company is in these patent litigations. And the last activity in that was in the first quarter of last year. So a combination of these kind of one-time events have been quite expensive for us for the last few years. So, but we have, of course, we are working on the cost also. So we invested a lot in digital mental health programs, so DTX, as it's also called, digital therapies. And that market has not really taken off in the US, and we're taking the consequences and reducing the investments quite dramatically in the first half of last year. So it is a combination of different activities. But right now we are at a place where we can still invest into the pipeline. We can still invest into the launch of OX124 because we have a lot of synergies with our existing organization. And we can do that with a confidence we can at least stay on a positive EBITDA, very close to positive EBIT. But what's really going to trigger revenues forward is the launch of OX124. It is business development agreements. So these agreements we expect would both cover some of our existing expenses, but also generate upfront payments and milestone payments. And here we are in late-stage discussions with several companies. So we're quite confident that we have some good opportunities moving forward to deliver on that goal to reach profitability.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Looking at your company, there's a lot of great opportunities coming forward, and you are targeting I want to just touch on one, and then we'll talk about the other one. You're targeting two big things in the United States that people are focusing on mental health, which you mentioned, and we'll touch on that one first, and then obviously the tragic opioid situation here in the United States that most people know about, that hundreds of thousands of people are dying annually from that, and that's sad, and we need help with that. And I appreciate your company providing that. Just on the mental health, really quick, yeah, it is ramping up here in the United States. Insurance companies are doing more with it. The government is looking more at it. So the investments that you've made, they haven't gone to waste. The platform is still in place. The investments are still there, and they can be reignited once I think the revenues start to show themselves. Is that true?
Yeah, I think the digital program. So we invested a lot in a platform. I think what's really one of the issues. It's a little catch-22 situation here. You want to show demand and you want to show there's a need. At the same time, and that's from the insurance companies. So show us that there is a need. At the same time, we need to have a process in place for reimbursement. That's the unique part in pharma or life science, is that you have a patient who's often not paying, at least not the full amount of the product, and you have an insurance company and you have a prescriber, and somehow to get that triangle to work between the payer, the caregiver, and the patient is hard. And there's an established system for pharmaceuticals, but not really for these digital health solutions. And we've seen several other companies who I actually believe have great products showing great value for patients going under because that is not there. But we are working closely with CMS. Actually, right now, CMS, they have basically gone out and said, we want to find a system that works. And that's what we're hearing from the private health insurance companies. We want to see that federal initiative to set up a structure and process for how should we look at these products, and then they will follow. So we have a lot of confidence that when there is a system where we transparently know what it takes to get reimbursement, we can start delivering on that. And one fortunate thing for Orexo is we do have revenues coming in from Subsol, where some of these other pure digital players, they didn't get any revenues coming in. So they have been forced to cut down or even close, as some of the more name-worthy have done that. So we have you can say, endurance and persistence to be in the market for the long term.
Yeah, that diversification is very attractive because it does provide the buffers and allow you to invest in those things that are coming down the pipe. And you mentioned this, I'm going to touch on this really quick. You're a Swedish company, but you do have people in the United States working with the insurance companies. I imagine talking to the government to get reimbursement for those things as well.
Yeah, we have more people in the US than we have in Sweden. So,
Okay.
so we do have a full-fledged organization. Our chief medical officer is sitting in the US. We have people working a lot with the government, because when you work with opioid use disorder, it is very much a public issue. So you need to work on that angle. And I think we have played a very instrumental role to improve access to reimbursement for patients with opioid use disorder, because there's not a lot of other pharma companies doing that. So we kind of being a small company, I think we have had much better access to the political level in the US than you would normally see, because I think it sometimes feels a little like we're a little alone in the fight here. There are not that many other companies who actually invest in new products and new solutions.
Yeah, I agree, and it's very important. And yeah, like you say, the government is the key for that because they treat a lot of the overdoses when first responders get out there. I want to end with this, and we only have a couple minutes left, so I want be brief because I don't want you to get cut off. But the drug delivery system seems like it has huge potential here in the U.S. for a lot of different things. How big do you see that getting? Are you promoting it a lot over here to other big pharma companies to deliver their drugs better? Just a little bit more on that.
Yeah, I think we're very active promoting. We have our head of business development is sitting in the US also. So we are actively working. We worked with a biotech company and had very good results. Unfortunately, it was an early stage, so they were building it into their product, but some of their phase 2 trial was not really as successful as we would hope. So we are working on this, and I must say it's stunning to get the feedback we're getting from the partners we do work with, because I'm just right now sitting in a process where we get a readout for one of the biologics we've been testing in the platform that company had worked for 15 years to find a way to improve stability of the product, and which have really been a big issue for them, taking the product to the patients where they see the biggest potential. And here we come, and we basically just right now looking at the readout for the results. We have a stable product without a cold chain, and we can work with some of the the product properties which would make it more comfortable for patients to use. So, and that's a company much bigger than Orexo. Worked for this for many years to find a formulation solution to the API and the biomolecule. And here we come, and we basically with this product have solved it. So I think that's applicable on so many other products.
Yeah, and that's great, and that's exciting, and I wish we had more time because there's so much more to talk about, but I do urge investors to submit their questions. The company will get back to you. They do want to reach out to you because they do have an exciting platform, and I'm really excited about their opportunities there. I want to thank everybody for coming and listening to this, and again, please submit your questions, and thank you for coming.
Thank you.